Oh hi. Porto Alegre, the city in Brazil, the capital of the state of Rio Grande do Sul. Porto Alegre, one of the most important cities of the southern Brazil, which is the cultural, education and political center of the region. In Porto Alegre, the highest standard of living among the Brazilian capitals of states is a part of the same name, the mesoregion, large city agglomeration, and the economical and statistical microregion. In the rating of the global cities of Gaul, it is recognized as the Gamma city, standing in the same row with Pittsburgh, Hannover, Dresden. Before the Portuguese colonization, the territory was inhabited by Indian tribes in a stupor, being engaged in hunting and collecting. The area departed to the Portuguese Empire under the Tordesillas Contract of 1494, but before the beginning of the 18th century was visited only by dealers from San Vicente. The eagerness to fight of natives constrained colonization. At the beginning of the 18th century, the armed expeditions of Bandeira forced Indians to stop attacks, and soon, since 1732, the first farms based by white immigrants began to appear here. After the next settlement of boundary problems between colonies of Spain and Portugal, the Madrid Contract of 1750, the Portuguese government started implementation of the program for large-scale colonization of the southern Brazil, for what it was supposed to move to the region of 400 families of colonists, mainly from the Azores. Owing to financial and organizational difficulties, only about 1,000 families moved, including from them in 1752 located in the district of present Porto Alegre. Disagreements between the Spanish and Portuguese colonies continued to escalate, and in 1763 Spaniards intruded in a Capitania of Rio Grande do San Pedro, whom also the territory of Porto Alegre concerned. Because of threat of capture by the opponent, the capital of a Capitania was transferred from Viamão to Porto Alegre, where remained after war. On March 26, 1772, Porto Alegre, the status of the settlement and capital of a Capitania, was officially given, as it is considered formal date of his basis. The number of inhabitants at the time was about 1,500 people. The new contract with Spain for a while returned peace to the southern Brazil that quickly bore fruit. The region economy promptly developed. By 1798, 1,300 inhabitants to 1814 lived in Porto Alegre, already more than 6,000. The main streets and squares of the settlement were paved by a stone, the cathedral and a town hall are constructed, the port accepted a set of the ships. On December 11, 1810, Porto Alegre, the status of the city was officially given, and on December 16 the next year it became the capital of again formed Capitania San Pedro do Rio Grande do Sul. In 1822, citizens achieved formation of the city council, which was carrying out local government. During the same period, the German immigration to the region contributing to the rapid development of the industry on the basis of a capitalist way of production gained Massachusetts character. Drought of contradictions between the imperial government and the southern elite led to attempt of office of the South and Civil War of 1835-1845. Porto Alegre, which from the very beginning of the events became the capital of insurgents in 1836, was recaptured by government troops, then sustained 3 sieges and several storms undertaken by Southerners throughout war. All of them were unsuccessful, but the significant damage was caused to the city. During Paraguayan War of 1865-1870 of Porto Alegre became the main point of supply of the Brazilian troops. In the city the port was reconstructed, the telegraph is laid, the set of new buildings and the enterprises appeared. Rapid development continued, and after war, in 1872 the tram is started, in 1874, electricity appeared, in 1899 the system of the city sewerage is constructed. By 1940 Porto Alegre totaled inhabitants and was one of the most well-planned cities of Latin America, which he treats to this day. In 1989 city authorities made a social experiment on creation of the civil city budget distributed on projects of initiative groups by decisions of councils from representatives of citizens. Results of creation of the participatory budget were very successful. The set of projects on water supply, electricity and other services in the needing districts of the city was carried out. After 25 years of functioning of the civil budget, infrastructure of the city and level of providing citizens with utilities allowed to carry Porto Alegre to the best not only in Brazil, but also in general across South America. Porto Alegre is located at the place of confluence of the river Guaba, the main sleeve of the delta of the rivers Aqui, in a huge freshwater lagoon Patus, on a joint of natural regions Pampas and Atlantic forest. This city is the most southern of the capitals of the Brazilian states. Climate of the area, subtropical oceanic. According to Köppen's classification, belongs to the category Seca. Summer hot and rainy, winter warm. Porto Alegre is known in Brazil for the strong winds and sharp changes of weather. According to the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, the population of the city in 2013 made 1.47 million people, agglomerations more than 4.4 million. The 10th and 4th place over the country respectively. As well as in all southern Brazil, the most part of citizens is made by descendants of the European immigrants. Racial structure of the population. White -79.2%. Pardo -10.0%. Blacks -10.2%. Asians -0.3%. The main part of inhabitants is descendants of natives of Germany, Italy, Poland and Levant. Christian Arabs. About 75% of citizens, Catholics, on 10% Protestants and atheists. The crime rate is lower than in the majority of the large cities of the country. Distinctive feature of local government is the participation of citizens in distribution of finance of the city, called by the civil participatory budget. Practice originates in 1989 when city authorities made a social experiment on involvement of residents to distribution of a part of the city budget via the mechanism of the project's moving initiative groups. The most important and productive period of such budgeting in Porto Alegre it is considered to be years since 1991 on 2004. Transition to the participatory budget was conceived as a component of the comprehensive program on overcoming inequality between the safe center and the poor outskirts, where lived to 1/3 of all citizens. The outskirts represented slums which inhabitants had no access to basic utilities, to water supply, the sewerage, schools and medical institutions. Drawing up the participatory budget happened annually and consisted of a set of quarter, regional and city meetings at which inhabitants and representatives of quarters and residential districts considered and defined the questions requiring the priority solution. The municipality of Porto Alegre spent about $200 million a year for construction and utilities, and this money were distributed within the participatory budget. Other expenses of the city budget, on service of a municipal debt, the maintenance of office buildings, payment of municipal pensions, didn't join in participatory budgeting. At peak of the program, about 50,000 citizens, from the most different layers of city society, took part in drawing up the participatory budget. Though formally participatory budgeting continued till the most recent time, but a number of authors noted that after defeat of the Labour Party on elections of 2004, the new Conservative coalition substantially returned to practice of the closed corruption distribution of the budget. The budgetary cycle begins in January and proceeds during the whole year, at meetings of residents of residential districts in all 16 districts of the city. The issues which are of interest to city community are discussed at these meetings, and projects and solutions are offered. Meetings elect the representatives authorized to vote on behalf of the residential district. At meetings there are a mayor or representatives of the mayor's office for answers to questions of inhabitants. In the next months, representatives gather for specification of parameters of projects and needs of residential districts. At the second, regional stage of budgeting, delegates of communities and residential districts hold meetings and define the priority directions of the area, and also elect the representatives within a quota in the Civil Budgetary Council consisting of 42 people. The main function of Civil Budgetary Council consists in drawing up the budget which is most fairly considering needs of all districts of the city within available money. The budget made and approved by Civil Budgetary Council is obligatory for execution by the city authorities. The mayor's office can offer, but not to demand, changes in the budget. Only the mayor can veto the budget and return them to Civil Budgetary Council on completion. Such precedents weren't. The research of World Bank carries out direct link between the participatory budget and improvement of a municipal and everyday situation to Porto Alegre. For example, connection to plumbing and sanitary grew from 75% of households in 1988 to 98% in 1997. The number of schools increased 4 times in comparison with 1986. Other researchers noted that participation in planning and budget implementation had very wide range of consequences for political and civil life in the country, promoted emergence in Brazil of Institute of Active Responsible Nationality. There was a wide group of people, perceiving themselves as a part of the municipal government, and the city authorities, as the decisions, responsible for execution, made by the public. For years of functioning of the participatory budget, he, apparently, made impact and on structure of distribution of budgetary funds of the city. So in particular, the share of education and healthcare in the city budget increased from 13% in 1985 to nearly 40% in 1996, and the participatory budget grew from 17% of the city budget in 1992 to 21% in 1999. In general, results of distribution of municipal means within the participatory budget were very successful. The set of projects on water supply, electricity and other services in the needing districts of the city was carried out. After 25 years of functioning of the civil budget infrastructure of the city and level of providing citizens with utilities allowed to carry Porto Alegre to the best not only in Brazil, but also in general across South America. The example of Porto Alegre served as a sample for similar projects in some other countries. Historically, the city economy was based on processing and export of products of the agricultural territories surrounding them. Today, Porto Alegre possesses modern, advanced economy which primary branches are the historical building of the city market, today shopping center, services sector, production of electronics, metallurgy, mechanical engineering, light industry, food industry, petrochemistry, education and healthcare, tourism. In the city, offices of such large Brazilian companies as Gerdau are located. The largest producer of steel in Latin America, Petróleo Ipiranga. Oil and gas production and processing. And Companhia Zafari. Supermarket chain. The city is served by the international airport of Salgado Filho, Iata, Poa Ica, Esbia, with a passenger turnover of 8 million people a year. 2013. Regular passenger flights are performed to all main cities of Brazil and also to Buenos Aires, Lisbon, Miami, Lima, Montevideo, Rosario and Panama. Through Porto Alegre there pass two federal highways, BRI-290, Uruguaiana Osorio, and BRI-116, Porto Alegre, Fortaleza. In the city, the subway of Transurb. One line, 19 stations, 39 kilometers. And an extensive network of municipal bus routes works. The subway is connected with the city airport, the line of a monorail. Structures cope automatically. Sport. In the city, two football clubs which are one of the strongest in Brazil and in South America, Grêmio and Internacional, are located. Teams have the corresponding infrastructure and stadiums, Beira Rio and Olímpico Monumental. The gross internal product for 2005 makes 27,977,351 million reals. Data. Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics. The gross internal product per capita for 2005 makes 1,958,200 reals. Data. Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics. The index of human development for 2000 makes 0.865. Data. Program of Development of the Union. Personnel. The French architect and planner Alfred Igec projected a city architecture. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.